Eric Stark, I'm here with LL League insider Keith Schwager. Lightning round. This is where we just do the picks, get it out. We got 20 games this week, Keith. So just go rapid fire here. Quick hits that start the game that you're going to be at this week for our spotlight game. Dallastown at Penn Manor. 2-0 teams. Who's going to win?
Penn Manor's my pick in Section 1. I'm not going back on them this week. I like them over Dallastown.
Good. We got Hempfield traveling to Central York.
Hempfield's quarterback, Michael Edwards, was banged up in their 52-19 loss at Central last week at Manheim Central. How he does is really, if he's okay and back at full strength, I like Hempfield in this one.
Another local team trying to bounce back from a loss. McCaskey traveling to Exeter. I'm sorry, they're hosting Exeter.
Hosting Exeter, right. And they're starting to, the injuries are piling up a bit for McCaskey. Their best linebacker is out for the year, reportedly, and their leading rusher is going to be out for a couple of weeks with an ankle injury, so I like Exeter in this one.
We got a rivalry game here. Warwick at Ephrata. Who do you like in the...
George Mail Trophy on the line. Key stat for Ephrata, they're doing very little offensively. 15 first downs and 251 total yards in 2 weeks. 14 points total as well. I like Warwick here.
Carlisle at Manheim Township.
Carlisle has lost 13 straight games going back to Week 10 of the 2011 season, so there's a little pressure on them to get a win, but I like Township.
Take Township there. Calico at Governor Mifflin. That's a big game.
Big matchup here. Governor Mifflin has a size advantage up front. They got a Temple recruit, Connor Morehart, 6'4", 290. He's one of the biggest guys, but they got some other horses up there too. I think it's kind of a bad matchup for Cocalico up front, so I'm leaning Governor Mifflin.
Speaking of bad matchups, there's another backyard rival. Garden Spot at Conestoga Valley might be a bad matchup.
Yeah, CV installed the wing tee this year, and they're trying to pound the ball inside, but so far they're averaging under 200 yards a game on the ground. I like Garden Spot, the favorite to win Section 3 here.
LS traveling to Red Lion this week.
LS might be the best 0-2 team certainly in the LL League, if not one of the best ones in the districts.
Yeah.
Red Lion has given up 582 rushing yards in 2 games.
Wow.
I like LS to bounce back here.
Manheim Central is going to Daniel Boone.
Manheim Central, 85 points in their first 2 games. That's the second highest point total in the league, behind Cocalico. Meanwhile, their defense has given up -1 rushing yard through their first 2 games. I like Central big here.
Yeah, I would say Oxford at Solanco.
Golden Mules are struggling. They've got the worst offense in the league. They've scored 6 points in the first 2 weeks, and they're averaging just 111 yards a game. Oxford's 2-0. I'm picking them to go 3-0.
Interesting. Columbia at Trinity.
I said LS was one of the best 0-2 teams. Trinity might be another one. They've lost to DeLone Catholic and Selinsgrove. Both of those teams are ranked in the state by both Penn Live and by the Pennsylvania Football News. So I like them to bounce back and get a win over Columbia here.
Interesting. Paul Myra at Donegal.
Cougars have given up 1,124 yards in their first 2 games, and they've been outscored 86-7. I think Donegal's going to have a good night this week.
They're salivating for that one, aren't they? Pequay Valley at Octorara. 2-0 Pequay Valley, am I correct on this?
Pequay Valley. Wow. They are 0-3 all time against Octorara, just a little note there. But I think they'll get a win this time. They're looking like they're going to improve a little bit this year.
Nice. Reading at Wilson.
Because of a scheduling conflict next year, this could be the last meeting in this rivalry.
Interesting.
Reading, I believe, added Harrisburg to their schedule, so that kind of bumped Wilson out of the non-leaguer. Wilson's not as one-dimensional as they were last year, where they were all about their defense. They're pretty well-rounded this year, so I like them over Reading.
Northern Lebanon going to Hamburg.
Of course, Hamburg got in the news this week. Video went viral of their starting quarterback, Joey Kaminsky, tearing off an Invo-Cleona player's helmet and hitting him with it. He got ejected from that game. He's suspended for this week. Northern Lebanon's lost 10 in a row. That's now the longest losing streak in the league, the longest current streak. But I like them to get a win here against the quarterbackless Hawks.
Schuylkill Valley at Anvil-Cleona.
Anvil was the team that Hamburg played last week, so they've been spending the week dealing with the distraction with that. They also lost a player there. One of their players, Taylor Prentice, got ejected from that game, so he's going to be benched this week as well. Schuylkill Valley looks really good. They got a good rushing offense, over 700 yards in their first 2 games, so I like them here.
Lebanon at Elko. It's a backyard rivalry,
Lebanon broke their 11-game losing streak last week. They beat Northern Lebanon 40-39 in overtime. Really interesting game. They're still struggling on defense, but so is Elko. They've given up 87 points in their first 2 games. I think Lebanon's got a little bit of momentum here, so I'm gonna take them.
Cedar Crest at Hershey.
Interesting note on Hershey, they haven't turned the ball over yet in their first 2 games, which is very important.
That is nice.
They got a really good running back in Jalen Harmon. He had an 87-yard kickoff return, 2 touchdown receptions, and a 41-yard touchdown run in their win over E-Town last week. I like Hershey in this one.
2 Saturday games, Lancaster Catholic at Erie McDowell.
I'm scratching my head over Lancaster Catholic right now. They're 0-2. They've scored 6 points in their first 2 weeks. They've only gained 243 total yards, which is the second worst total in the league, just ahead of Solanco. And, Solanco's been struggling with offense for a long time. Catholic, they're big up front. I'm not really understanding what the problem is because they have a lot of experience on that line. They've been turning the ball over a lot. I'm sure that's part of it, but yeah, it's a head scratcher. Now they're running into a McDowell team. They're 1-1. They lost to a pretty good team, Mentor, Ohio, in week 1, but they blew out General McLean 35-0 last week. So they're clicking coming into this one. They beat up on Catholic last year when Catholic had Roman Clay and possibly a better lineup from top to bottom. So I'm liking McDowell in this one. I think Catholic's going to be 0-3.
Wow, 0-3. It's been a while since Catholic was 0-3.
Absolutely.
Our last game, Elizabethtown at Lower Dolphin, another backyard rivalry here.
Yeah, and I'm not really sure what to make of either of these teams. Lower Dolphin, they shut out Middletown in week 1. I think they held them to something like 31 yards of offense, but then they barely held off Cedar Crest last week. Now, I think Cedar Crest has improved, but that's still a bit of an eyebrow raiser. And E-Town, same deal. They beat Donegal in week 1. Everybody was pretty impressed with that. Then last week they kind of backslid a little bit against Hershey. So I'm not sure what the read is on them just yet. I think they're going to be improved, but maybe we'll see this week. This should be an interesting matchup for them. Lower Dolphin won this one pretty big last year, so I'm still going to lean in their direction. I'm taking Lower Dolphin in here.
Tune in each week for the Inside Huddle picks by Keith Schwager.